Swordfish Cavaliers are shaman knights of the swordfish, the Vahana of the sea's word god Margazatubig. As spirit mediums and skilled riders of the Balu mount they summon is a little god, who lives in a talisman that they wear around their necks. They can summon this Balu at almost any time. The Balu are giant swordfish with noses sharper than spears and wings as large as an eagle's. While they require water to breathe, they can stay up in the air for quite some time. Swordfish Cavaliers are trained by the best of the best in their villages. As taming a Balu is an entire endeavor all to itself, one must train a Balu since their infancy to form a proper connection with them. Since Balu are one of the quickest animals in the Sword Isles, they have been used to corral and subdue enemy advances in war. Balu are outfitted with chain-linked mails and hardwood armors as well. Swordfish Cavaliers are said to have a distant rivalry with the other riding disciplines, particularly the Buea riders. This is because they have both been invented by enemy villages. Riding a Balu is a sacred act of oneness with nature, and requires a bullion ritual to officiate. Swordfish Cavaliers are known to use bamboo or hardwood recurve bows for their choice of weapon, or any other long-ranged implement, to attack and skewer from mid-range. Swordfish Cavaliers know the lay of the land and they know the movement of the sea. If you were a Swordfish Cavalier you must have begun your childhood close to water, whether it be a pond or the ocean. You are intimate with the ways of fishing, wielding harpoon and net to catch your prey. Of anyone needs a helping hand when it comes to fishing and hunting, Swordfish Cavaliers are usually well trained in this regard. Swordfish Cavaliers tend to be the first into a battle, with their superior speed being able to move them across the battlefield with relative ease. Due to their mounts, they will be usually tasked with jobs or duties that would need quick movement or ability to float a few feet over land and water. While Balu can submerge, the riders usually cannot hold their breath for long. Swordfish Cavaliers constitute the elite cavalry of the Sultana. Elite Swordfish Cavaliers are exalted and trained from birth, and are reared up in the closest way of the Bulanan. Swordfishes are ancient and holy animals that were ridden by Barkinda Sumang Suklay themselves, and were the holy steeds of Ayumanat, the first prophet, when they had to travel the 2001 oceans to reach the Sword Isles. Swordfish Cavaliers are often well versed with the sea. No landlubber can practice the Swordfish Cavalier art. They will not be able to stomach the otherness of the ocean, but those who can, learn the secrets of Margazatubig himself, the first practitioner of this martial art. If you become a Swordfish Cavalier, ask yourself, why do you ride upon the wings of legends to inflict violence? The folly of men dapples your arrowhead. Why must you enslave nature to scatter your enemy's entrails upon the ground? Hello viewers and welcome to a brand new episode of Trashtalk on Gubat Banwa, where I talk about the various disciplines you can play as within. And in today's episode, let's talk about the Swordfish Cavalier. Swordfish Cavalier is a sharpshooter. I give you 3 guesses as to what that is. Anyway, let's look at it straight. Seawind Rider, which give the Cavalier 8 HP, 4 speed, 2 jump, and +1 to posture and faith, making the Cavalier decently tough while also being quite speedy. And interestingly, due to the bonus prowess, you probably want to focus on throwing more of your own magic attack and avoid those coming your way. You also ignore water terrain, which slows down people dramatically, as well as rushing one after every ranged attack, giving you even more mobility. All your area attack also get +1 to their pattern, which sounds like it's gonna get quite crazy with blast. All your ranged attack also douse, and gain +1 dice on all attacks against shocked, chilled, and aflame fighters. Also, splash, inflicting 1 hit against all enemies adjacent to the target after attack, ranged attack to be exact. What this means is simple: you are very good at water attack that douses all the people ever. Playing to the elemental strength is very important here because it lets you do more damage. But the fact that all your ranged attack douse means that you can't use other techniques that set people on fire or shock them, because the elements would just cancel out each other and leaving the target with no effect besides immense amount of pain, because you still just shot them with an arrow. On the other hand, your area attack and melee attack doesn't. Use that to your advantage for all the elemental abuses. Anyway, let's get going with the inflict violences for the Knight of the Sea. First, wave dash, douse all enemies adjacent to you. Then move half your speed, ignoring terrain, and douse all enemies adjacent to you after the movement too. Just a very simple way of dousing or chilling everything around you. Second, Sea Spear, attack all fighters in range 4 line 4 with faith, dousing them. If they are already doused, roll plus bravery, increasing your damage. For a Swordfish Cavalier, you probably won't be increasing your bravery much or even at all after gaining some legends, but this can works as a bonus damage for Sea Spear if you want to. Range 4 line 4 also lets you easily line up quite a few targets at once too, so that's nice. And third, Frostwind Shot, attack a fighter in range 5 with faith, dousing them. Then, all doused enemies in burst 1 of the target suffer 1 attack dice and become chilled, losing doused. Suffering 1 attack dice here means the enemies have to actually roll the dice and see if they take the damage, instead of just taking the damage straight like some effects would. They also don't get to roll defense dice against it. Either way, it really just means that you as the Cavalier really want to douse as many enemies as possible for all the damage, and also chill people if possible because things get so much worse for them. Now, let's take a look at its signature techniques. First, Water Spike, attack a fighter in range 5 with Faith, dousing and chilling them, which just means you immediately chill them I guess, but this also means that you can cancel out a flame with douse first if the target is on fire, then actually apply the chill effect without it being cancelled out. Unless you want to chill someone immediately, this is probably not that useful for a Swordfish Cavalier with like 10 million ways to douse people, but it is useful for other disciplines that want someone to be chilled right now. And like always, this technique can be upgraded to Corsair Blades, attack all enemies in line 8 with Faith, dousing and chilling them, and Sea Lord Trident. All tiles in burst 1 of the last tile becomes deep water, which is rather hard to get out, and also you heal 1. All in all, there will be a lot of people getting hypothermia from you, and getting to heal is always nice, even for just 1 point. Second, Dagalan Teka, attack a fighter in range 3 with Faith, dousing the target, and then push 3, if they collide, they become slowed. All tiles in burst 1 of the target becomes shallow water too, just to make them get stuck right there even more. Collision obviously, hurt, and it can happen if someone get forced movement into a blocking terrain, higher elevation, object, or another person, just an extra bonus for looking carefully at the map when using this technique. But really, if you want someone to not be able to move away from somewhere for a while, this technique is really good for that. It can also be improved to Sea Raid Cannon to attack all fighters in range 3 blast 3 instead with Faith, only dousing and chilling them this time, but if they are already doused and chilled, this attack becomes overwhelming, meaning you get to do even more damage. And also, Margazatubig Swivel, increase the range to range 5 blast 4, and the attack is also Bravery plus Faith now, dealing even more damage. If you are on the receiving end of such an attack, you can only pick either posture or resilience against it. Also you are wide open after the attack until the end of your next riv. Hope you are not getting surrounded. And remember, the Cavalier's trait can increase the area pattern size even more, so that can be quite a massive area attack on top of all the damage. After unlocking 2 of the Cavalier's signature techniques, you also unlock its enlightenment, Sea Form Maverick, in which when you rush, you turn into water, letting you ignore any terrain and move through fighters, dousing all things you move through, but only when you are rushing. Also, you can use any, and I do mean any, water terrain as the origin point for your attacks. What this means is very simple, it further boosts the mobility of any discipline, and you will want techniques that can throw out water terrain so the enemies are never out of your reach. Continuing onward, for the third technique, Sea Sword Summons, you summon Balu, a lot of Balu, inflict 1 true hit on all enemies in Blast 5, this is basically a technique to grind down low health enemies without missing to ensure they are very dead, or you can also just use it to sandpaper down a whole lots of enemies if they happen to be standing right next to you. And in case you are wondering, no, this doesn't count as an attack because you aren't really rolling for it, so Cavalier's trait cannot enlarge the already ridiculous blast radius. You can also upgrade the technique to Sea Spear Embodiment, in which you choose a burst 1 area within 5 tiles of you, attacking all enemies in that burst with Faith. It also become a field of flying Balu. Any enemy dumb enough to start or end their riv in the field suffers 1 true hit. Any ally that makes an area attack that includes a tile of the flying Balu field as a target may cause the flying Balu to storm, inflicting slowed and bleeding to all enemies in the battlefield, once per riv. This seems kinda absurd in first glance, overpowered even, but after thinking about it for a while, it doesn't feel that way. With the map size usually being 12 by 12, slowed doesn't force an enemy to rush multiple resounds just to reach somewhere, and while bleeding is painful, a violence usually ends at max 6 resounds, often it just ends at 3, so it still hurts, but not by that much either. This does however, makes enemies wanting to stay as far away from the flying Balu field as they could. You can't hit the Balu with area attack if they aren't remotely close to it. This could work to your advantage by setting it in place you don't want enemies to get close to, which might also be a bad idea because enemies don't care about being slowed if they are right next to where they want to be anyway. I will let you figure out where to put it. And, Salagunting Premonition, just increase the field to burst 2 and also you may fly 3, because you could never have enough mobility as the Cavalier. Fourth and last, Sea Grasps the Moon, Spend 1 beat to summon the moon within 5 tiles. Wait, what? The moon is an indestructible size 1 object. You can use it as origin point for your attack. When you summon the moon, and at the start and end of every resound, the moon pulses, inflicting 1 hit on all enemies and douse all allies in burst 2 of it, so don't stand too close. All enemies in the burst are also vulnerable to attacks that douse and chill. Summon new moon, just remove the last one. You can only have 1 at a time, as if sea sword summons isn't enough area control. You can summon a moon that you can shoot arrows out of. Are we sure the Swordfish Cavalier isn't a witch? The fact that it also deals a constant damage over time in an area and makes enemies more vulnerable to water attacks makes it a very dangerous and indestructible threat when the Cavalier is on field. Honestly, just put it down on field as soon as possible, it's that powerful. Just one thing to remember, the moon inflict 1 hit when it pulses, not 1 true hit, meaning the hit can be evaded or guarded or blocked, so there are ways to avoid taking damage from it. You can also upgrade it to Moon Princess style, its only upgrade in fact, which turns the moon to Shivering Moon, gaining more effects like all enemies that start their riv in burst 2 of it become chilled, and if already chilled, they suffer 1 hit instead. However, if it gets attacked, it pulses, then it explodes, dealing 1 hit on all enemies in burst goddamn 5, all tiles in burst 1 of the Shivering Moon's tile becomes deep water. Essentially, the moon has even more pain to throw at enemies now, but it's no longer indestructible and you have to put it up again. The explosive damage is more a deterrence really. A proper area attack would do more damage. After unlocking 4 of the Cavalier's signature techniques, you also unlock its Liberation, True Deluge, in which on Resound 2+, spend 1 beat to turn you and your Balu into being of pure rushing water. Every start of your riv, you can move half your speed for free. You can also move through enemies to chill them. When you move, the square you start in and enter becomes shallow water. If already shallow water, it becomes deep water. Whenever you end your riv, the water terrain, all of it, explodes, inflicts 1 true hit on all enemies within burst 1 of every water terrain on field. Each enemy can only suffer up to 3 true hits through this. So yeah, you can just explode an entire river with this one trick. You can also move around even more and chill people by just moving into them, but that's just really overshadowed by the fact that you can explode fucking river with every resound. That's an insane amount of potential damage if you got water terrain everywhere. So, yeah, no, do your best spreading water everywhere. And that's basically it on Swordfish Cavalier, Knight of the Sea that can stride fast and strike hard with the ways of the sea and a whole lot of fishes, probably way too many fishes. Anyway, that's all for now and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.